Rami back with another video. I hope that you guys all enjoyed today's video. Of course, as always, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share the video to a friend who likes this or just anime content in general. And don't be afraid to comment down below your thoughts and feelings about the video, or even what if suggestions that you would like me to do in future. Any what ifs are great. We can now begin the video. Let us take the story of Naruto to his birth. Actually, a little bit before it. You see, in this timeline, Minato is not going to be a Namikaze, and instead he will be a Yuki, who was raised by members of the Namikaze clan, who are going to be discussed in the what if, obviously, since we know next to nothing about them. But it was due to the fact that his adopted parents were from the Namikaze clan that, well, Minato would end up taking the name of the Namikaze, although in reality he was fully a Yuki. Now, with that being said, that lays the groundwork for the what if. Nearly everything in the canon of Naruto would go the same up until Naruto was about 4 years old. It would be here that, well, the main change would occur. His 𝘾𝙍𝙗𝙃 activating. You see, Naruto was different from regular Yuki members. Whilst most Yuki members had to awaken at least one chakra nature to even use Ice Release, Naruto was different in the fact that it came naturally to him. Similar to how Gaara's mother protected him from the afterlife, it was almost as if Minato's own will was able to, well, help Naruto. Or at least it seemed that way. It would later be revealed that this was an extension of Naruto's will in a different way that we'll get into later. With that being said, of course, something had to happen for, well, the 𝘾𝙍𝙗𝙃 to trigger in the first place. And, well, it would be one day that Naruto was getting bullied. I know, cliche, Naruto gets bullied in the village, gets some cool power-up, but not necessarily. You see, as he was getting bullied, the ice would protect him. And eventually, the bullies saw it as so weird that they ran away. Naruto sat on the ground crying for hours, as eventually he would be found by Hiruzen, who would take him to his office. Naruto, are you alright? Naruto said nothing, tears still flowing down his face. Why? Why are they so mean to me? Lord Third, I've done nothing. It's like just me existing makes them so angry, makes them so mad. Why? Why are they so mean to me? What did I do? Hiruzen looked to the ground. You did nothing to the dirt. What? Sorry, I lost my tongue. You did nothing to deserve that, Naruto. Nothing at all. I'm sorry that there are villagers like that. People who resent you like that in this village. Yes, I know, but why? I just want to know. Because maybe if I knew what I would be able to understand their pain, their anger. Why they're always so mad at me, like I don't know. Like I destroyed the whole world or something. They look at me like I'm a demon, and they treat me like I'm a dog. It's okay, Naruto. You don't have to explain. I will teach you an important lesson today. There are winners and there are losers in this world. There are men and there are women. There are people who transcend the level of just average shinobi. And there are people who, well, are worst than the worst. Common village scum who are even below that. But you're the Hokage. How can you talk about them like that? It makes no sense. Hiruzen said nothing. Because, although I have the burden of protecting nearly every villager in this village, if not every single villager, and ninja, even I can accept that there are scum within the leaf. If there are people who can do things like this to you, a mere child no older than 4 years old, then I do not consider those people good people. And what is someone who's not good if not scum? With a young Naruto, these things would stick to him like glue. Everything 𝙎𝙈𝙊𝙊𝙏 was saying made sense. Now back to what I was saying. You, Naruto, you have power. You have a great power that could change this ninja world. I know it. Naruto said nothing. How do you know? He would say after a long silence. I just feel it. After a little bit of more talking and, well, conversation as a whole, 𝙎𝙈𝙊𝙊 and Naruto would part ways, with 𝙎𝙈𝙊 returning to his apartment. It would be then that Danzo met with 𝙎𝙈𝙊. It would be then that 𝙎𝙈𝙊 met with Lord Third. Sorry. 𝙎𝙈𝙊 met with Danzo is what I meant to say. Now, with that being said, it would be here that they discussed Naruto and his 𝘾𝙍𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉𝘼𝙇. And all Danzo was, concerned about was how it could, benefit the Leaf Village, how their military might could, be expanded using his 𝘾𝙍𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉, how it seemed that the ice release that was found within Minato had not died out in the bloodline just because of, Kushina. And, Naruto not being a full-blooded Yuki. Or, what they believed was just an ice release user who they believed was the Namikaze's 𝘾𝙍𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉, when in reality it is the Yuki's 𝘾𝙍𝙄𝙄. After a while, Danzo would stop beating around the bush, and eventually he would ask 𝙎𝙈𝙊 if he could just, take Naruto, raise him as a Root Anbu member and a loyal subject to the Leaf Village. That, and in tandem the fact that he is a Jinchuriki, would most definitely prove useful to the Leaf Village. 𝙎𝙈𝙊 knew this, Danzo knew this, and, 𝙎𝙈𝙊 said no. He told... Sorry if you hear me sniffling, I have a bit of a runny nose right now. He would tell Danzo that Naruto will be raised as an average shinobi, or, in the way that any shinobi would be raised at the very least. And although he may not end up as an average shinobi, his path to being one will be no different. He will not be in the Anbu, he will not be in Root, he will be well protected, and he will be raised as any other ninja would. Fine, Danzo would reply with. But maybe we should at least train the boy. If we can tap into that potential early, then we can raise his power exponentially. Heck, having the Jinchuriki with skill would prove very useful. It's what the cloud has. It's even what the sand has. Have you heard? Have I heard what? It's a rumor going around that the Sand Village's Jinchuriki, the One-Tails, has already gone rampant multiple times. The power has nearly destroyed the village on several occasions. Maybe if we just had a Jinchuriki who didn't go on rampages and, was powerful at that, we would be much stronger than any of our neighboring shinobi villages. The mist, the stone, the sand, the cloud, none of them would be able to stand to us. None of them, I mean. You have a point. So what do you say, 𝙎𝙈𝙊? May I get someone to train him? Danzo. Yes. I think I know the perfect person to train him, but it's not one of your guys. Fine. Who is it then? It is Kakashi Hatake. That one-eyed Sharingan user. He is the copy ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village. He served alongside Minato in the war. And not only that, but he has a connection to Naruto's own father, and his Sharingan allows him to, well, place Naruto under a genjutsu if he goes on a rampage. Fine. If there are no results, then I expect a change. He's teaching a young child. Results aren't instantaneous. Now leave my office, Danzo, respectfully. Danzo would disappear, leaving the office in a hurry. As Hiruzen sat and pondered, he did not want Naruto to become another weapon of the Hidden Leaf, another tool to be used by Danzo. And so immediately he would call in Kakashi, who would train Naruto nearly just a week after his meeting with Hiruzen, his first meeting to be exact, where they would discuss Naruto. You want me to do what, Hiruzen? I want you to train the boy. Why? Why me, of all people? Your Sharingan. It allows you to, place him under a genjutsu if the Nine-Tails chakra gets out of control. Yes, but not only that, but you've seen the ice release ability of the Namikaze clan. You've seen it firsthand in the war, haven't you? Minato used it, right? I have seen it done by Sensei, yes. Although not in the war. One more thing. Since we're gonna be spending a heck of a lot of time together, shouldn't he just move in with me? Huh? What do you mean? I know that he lives in an apartment on the east side of the village. Why doesn't he just move in with me? I don't live very far from there, and well, if we're gonna be training all the time, then how about he starts living with me? It's not good for a child, especially so young, to live alone. They'd be better off in an orphanage. So, how about he trains with me and he lives with me? You know what? Better yet, how about I adopt him? Are you serious, Kakashi? Hiruzen will reply. Dead serious. Kakashi's face straightened and, well, he stared deeply at Hiruzen, as Hiruzen was clearly pondering everything that Kakashi had just said. 2 years. I will allow you to train him for 2 years. If he grows, if he gets stronger, then you will continue to train Naruto. As long as that strength can be seen, represented. I will pick a random Chunin, and if Naruto can even dance with them, then I will say that it has been a success. Even a 6-year-old at the level of a Chunin is still a prodigy. Oh, and if in those 2 years, I asked Naruto if he'd like to be adopted by you, and he says yes, without any influence from you swaying his answer, and I'll know, trust me, then I will allow you to adopt him. I give you my word. Alright. Thank you, Hiruzen. That's Lord Third to you. Yes, my apologies. With that being said, Kakashi would begin to train Naruto, as, well, Naruto would grow exponentially. Not only was he showing flashes of being a prodigy like his father, but he was able to actually start manifesting the, well, Yuki's Kekkei ice release at a much younger age than, well, the full-blooded Minato was able to. Let alone not just that, but he was able to start using ice release form jutsus and didn't even have any chakra releases. Because, like I hinted at in the beginning, his ice release was different. It was as if it was his own spirit. Now, how does Naruto's ice release directly vary from other Yuki members? Naruto doesn't need any chakra natures to have it. All he has to have is his spirit, his will, and his own determination. You see, his ice release isn't powered through chakra, but instead it's powered from his will. And now that might sound OP, but think about it. If Naruto's will is broken in a fight, or it's not, say, the highest, let's say Naruto's gets slapped around and his confidence isn't at, well, 100, then his ice release isn't going to be at 100 either, and it'd be like the equivalent of stones being thrown at you instead of real ice bullets or anything similar to that, even ice shards. Now, with that being said, of course, Naruto in the series has shown a considerably strong will, and that's exactly why I thought it'd be best for it to be, well, used based off of his spirit, his will, instead of, well, things that weren't determined by his natural grit, and instead were determined by things that he was overall bad at, his chakra control. Heck, how is a 6-year-old supposed to master wind and water release, let alone any chakra nature in general, to be able to use the ice release Genkai? Now, with that being said, 2 years would pass. Naruto had even managed to obtain a sword in this time, and had been carefully training with it with Kakashi. He had also done strength training to increase his muscle mass, and, well, basically just added a few pounds onto his body so that he couldn't get pushed around as easily, and, well, beaten in taijutsu fights. It would be then that Hiruzen would find a Chunin with it within the village to basically just, well, fight Naruto. The Chunin would fight Naruto and would actually go easy in the beginning, as, well, he saw Naruto as no threat and actually called Naruto pathetic, as, well, the Chunin landed the first blow, pushing Naruto and, well, causing Naruto to fall on the ground. Naruto's head was now looking to the ground, as he said nothing. It almost seemed like he was going to do nothing. It almost seemed like he was just going to take what the bully said and, well, not react. But instead, he did react, and, well, it was something to watch, in the words of Hiruzen. Naruto rose into the air, bringing his foot down and slamming it into the shoulder of the Chunin. Naruto disappeared using the body flicker technique, a technique that Kakashi saw as very valuable for a shinobi with Naruto's stature to use. It's a technique that he could quickly escape with, use a, well, counterattack, or even launch an offensive onslaught with, or, well, just retreat from battle in general. With that being said, after using the body flicker jutsu, Naruto would reappear behind the Chunin, tapping him on the back. He now held a kunai to his neck. The Chunin did nothing, as Naruto then cut, well, a piece of his neck. Now, he didn't, like, try to kill him or anything. He just wanted the Chunin to bleed. He believed that, well, no Chunin would just allow themselves to be caught like that, which meant that it either had to be a shadow clone, or he was going to use some sort of substitution jutsu. And Naruto was completely right. It was, well, a shadow clone. Now, this wasn't just any regular Chunin, but rather it was a very skilled Chunin that had even trained under people like, well, Asuma. That's the exact reason why, well, Hiruzen chose the Chunin. Because the Chunin had trained under Asuma for a couple of weeks, and, well, he saw the Chunin as the perfect fit. The Chunin's name being Darant. Now, Darant is quite the weird name, I know, but most people just called him Dara. It was true. Dara was using a shadow clone, as he would appear in front of Naruto. That jutsu you used, was it the body flicker? Naruto said nothing, dodging Dara's first initial punch, as he then grabbed Dara by his arm and swung him up into the air, judo slamming him into the ground. Dara looked up at Naruto with a smirk. I definitely didn't expect that, especially from a kid so small. How old are you, 6? 5? I'm 6 years old, Naruto would say, pulling out his short sword and clashing kunai to blade with Dara. You know, I'm a Chunin and you're nothing. You're not even in the academy, let alone a Genin or a Chunin like me. You know, you should honestly just give up. Naruto grit his teeth. You're telling me I just trained 2 years just to give up because you told me to? Like hell I'd ever do that. Like hell I'd ever give up in the first place. You fool. I didn't go through all that pain, all that struggle, just to be defeated by you. Ice would start to form around Naruto, almost as if it was about to create a barrier around him. But instead, it acted in the way of an armor. It created a sort of ice armor for him, which coated his skin. Although it was quite the thin coating and, well, didn't really affect Naruto's movement, it sure as hell worked as a defensive anchor on Naruto's body, as Naruto was tanking all of Dara's attacks with minimal effort. Naruto would then weave through a combination of Dara's attacks after being hit with multiple waves of his attacks, and basically just realizing how Dara liked to fight, and thus he would take advantage of this, using his superior speed to get the best of him and basically kick Dara on his butt. Dara now looked up at Naruto. Wow, you're not just a kid, are you? You're different. Dara then pulled out a paper bomb. But are you fast enough to dodge this? Dara then threw the paper bomb. Hiruzen then spoke to Kakashi as this was happening. I did not tell him that he could use a paper bomb. Actually, I said to, only use a kunai. And that was it. If the paper bomb hits, then, I will have to intervene. No, even if it explodes, do nothing. I wish to use this as a training lesson for Naruto on what not, or, what to do in this situation. Now, how were they able to talk for so long while the paper bomb was being thrown? Well, it's because paper bombs have to be activated, not just thrown, as Dara would then put together the activation hand seal to activate the paper bomb, exploding in Naruto's face. Naruto would be sent back flying, as Dara would look confused. He wondered if he actually injured Naruto, whilst it was obvious that throwing a paper bomb wasn't just gonna give him a small cut, in theory. Dara then stood up, dusting himself off. Can't believe it. I beat that little young upstart. 10 years from now, when he's a Jonin captain, I'm gonna rub it in his face. Oh, and Hiruzen, it wasn't even a challenge. Barely broke a sweat. Now, you don't even know if he's out for the count. He has to be. Actually, you should be sending a medical squad out here to save him. Kid's probably about to die. Kakashi had a question. Were you purposely trying to harm him like that? Yeah, honestly, after he hit me on the butt, or rather got me on my butt, all of that anger and hate for the Nine Tails started coming out. Asuma taught me that, the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails wasn't all responsible for the death of my parents, but when we were in the fight, why did I care about that? He tried to embarrass me, so I thought that the kid should get a taste of his own medicine. He wants to harm people and their lives, or, the beast inside of him does. So, I just gave him something to chew on. A little paper bomb to the face. Oh, and, there's a reason why Asuma trained me. After I activated the first paper bomb, I was able to do what I call a link paper bomb. Now, although it appeared as just one paper bomb, it was actually 5, and I was able to explode them all at the same time. Honestly, I probably blew the kid's head off. Damn. I finally got my revenge. What? You did what? How dare you? Kakashi didn't want to run into the smoke, but, Hiruzen didn't either. And so they both stood there, waiting and waiting and waiting. as Dara laughed. You guys are still waiting for him to come out of the smoke? I told you, I probably blew the kid's head. He would let out a cough of blood as Naruto now held an ice sword through Dara's stomach. You know, I was told that there is a beast that lives within me. That he is known as the 𝘎𝙎, the Nine-Tails Fox. That he rampaged after he escaped my mother's body. And that my father was able to seal the beast back within me. And that my mother died in that fight. And so did my father. It cost his life. So you can sit around here saying that you lost this and you lost that. But I lost my mother and father too. To that very beast. So instead of bad-mouthing me, you should be thanking me. Because I know for a fact that due to the fact that while I hail from the Uzumaki clan, that no one else is a better fit for the Jinchuriki. No one else is better fit to cage the Nine-Tails. So would you rather you be the host? And let the Nine-Tails run rampant whenever it saw fit? Or would you rather I be the host? Someone whose body can handle it. You should be thanking me. But instead, you would relish in the fact that you blew my head off. Damn, you gave me a punch there. Five paper bombs? In one paper bomb seal? I wasn't expecting it. My armor wasn't strong enough. But my will was. So the ice flowed to me, and it flowed to my skin, and it protected me. Unfortunately for you, I was enraged enough to be able to create this ice sword. And now, it's through your stomach. I've chosen to allow you to live. But you ever raise a finger at me again, and I swear to you. Actually, I swear to 𝙎𝙈𝙊𝙊𝙏𝙃, I'll kill you right where you stand. You monster! You monster! I'm the monster, but you tried to end a 6-year-old's life. Naruto would pull out the ice sword, as it was now drenched in blood, dropping it to the ground, as it then shattered. Lord Third, could you get this weird tuning out of here? And, Kakashi told me about the whole adoption thing. No, it's not him swaying me. Kakashi has raised me. He has taught me everything I know, and there's no one else I would like as a surrogate father to what Minato wasn't alive to be. At least he knew my father. Who else can say that? Who else can say that they served alongside him, that they were taught by him? I want to learn and be the adopted son of the guy who my father adored. You know? So, maybe you can say him telling me about my mom and my dad was him being able to sway me in that direction, but it's what I want, Hiruzen. Regardless of what you may think. I understand. Of course, Kakashi can adopt you. Kakashi would smile under his mask, as, well, Naruto didn't have a mask, so he would smile with his teeth. With that being said, this is where we're going to end part 1 to What If Naruto would Ice Release. I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share the video to a friend who likes this or just anime content in general. And with that being said, we can now end the video. Don't forget to comment down below thoughts and feelings about the video or just what if suggestions in general. This has been 𝘆𝑚𝑖X, and, well, 𝘆𝑚𝑖X out. 𝘆𝑚𝑖X back with yet another video. I hope that all of you guys enjoy today's video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Sit back, relax, and, well, if this isn't your first rodeo, I hope that you love the video the same. This is What If Naruto Had Ice Release Part 2. We left off with Kakashi basically now having the rights to adopt Naruto, and well, he would adopt Naruto Uzumaki, as Naruto would then, instead of being Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto Namikaze, or even Naruto Yuki, instead would be Naruto Uzumaki Hatake. And, well, this is where Naruto's abilities would take a jump. He would start going on missions now with Kakashi. Now, most of these missions were just B-rank missions, or some were even C-rank missions that, well, Kakashi only took on with Naruto so that they could bring some income into, well, their pockets, so that they could keep on living and, well, just pay rent, sustain themselves. You get the point. Now, one day, after getting some money from one of these missions, Naruto would go out and buy ninja gear, and lots of it. He would buy kunai, shurikens, paper bombs, you name it. He would also buy a second sword. But this sword wasn't for no reason. It was, well, for a specific reason that he bought this sword. Now, the sword looked like any regular ninja sword, except it had a smaller hilt, and the metal was actually malleable and moldable. What I mean by that is that you could actually change the form of the metal using chakra. You see, the blacksmith that had created it imbued it with chakra, so it could be manipulated with chakra, making it quite the deadly blade if you were adept at doing so. Say, for instance, Asuma's brass knuckle-ish chakra knuckles. Those are manipulated with chakra, and they can change form and become huge in size even, if manipulated with enough chakra. Just like this sword can change its form with just the right amount of chakra. Naruto knew this, and he would grab the blade. Now, since I've already explained that this Naruto does have proper chakra control, and if I haven't already, well, he does, Naruto at this point would start trying to mold the blade on his own. First, he would try to change it into a scythe of sorts, but that all seemed kind of weird to Naruto. He knew that he wasn't the kind of ninja to go swinging around the scythe. Who was he, the Grim Reaper? But he did know that he had a 𝘾𝙎𝙈𝙊𝙃𝙃, known as Ice Release, and that 𝘾𝙎𝙈𝙃 could possibly mold the sword. He knew that when he got really, really angry against Dara, that, well, he created an ice sword. So what if this sword was his ice blade, and at any moment it could become one? Because the only problem with Naruto's ice swords was that the moment that, well, they stopped being connected to Naruto, they shattered into pieces, into little ice shards. That's exactly what happened in his fight with Dara. After he was done stabbing Dara and he dropped his blade to the floor, it crumbled into about 1,000,000 shards of small ice. And so he thought to himself, what if instead, now that I have this sword, I can coat it in Ice Release, and it can become, quite literally, an ice sword, but not just for, say, one attack and then I put it down and it's done for, but instead a much longer duration of time. Say, for instance, months, years. So that since it forms with the blade, only when the ice shatters and the blade breaks will the ice break that's coated onto the blade. This made perfect sense for Naruto, and it actually worked. He would be able to create a quite literally lasting ice sword. One that couldn't be affected by just dropping it on the ground, because it wasn't just ice. It was also now iron, mixed with ice. Now, with that being said, as I stated, Naruto would be going on plenty of missions with Kakashi. Now, it wouldn't be until 1 year after his fight with Dara that he would stumble into a real challenge. Something that actually proved to be life-threatening for both Kakashi and him. They were going on a regular old B-rank mission, but something was odd about it. You see, the job that they were meant to do was they were going to go to a village close to the outskirts of the Hidden Leaf and they were just going to deliver a document. Now, this wasn't the biggest document ever, it wasn't heck super important, but it was just the village wanting to run a treaty by the Leaf Village. They wanted to have peace with the Leaf, and well, they didn't want to send any of their ninja out because they didn't have any ninja, which is why they hired Naruto and Kakashi Hatake. Now, with that being said, they kindly accepted the offer, and they would go to the village. Now, also with that being said, after arriving in the village, something was off, because on the way back to delivering the document, they were ambushed. It seemed that they did actually have ninja, but that the ninja there did not like the Hidden Leaf Village for whatever reason. Naruto believed that it was probably some sort of quarrel with them developed many years ago, and Kakashi, well, stuck on to that theory as well, as it was the only plausible thing. Why would some random nation with a small, well, army of ninja, weak army even if compared to the Hidden Leaf Village, try to attack the Leaf? It made no sense, and well, it was honestly quite stupid. So that's the theory they clung on to, and after being ambushed by these ninjas, they would fight back. Now, in no way were these ninja fodder. These ninja were strong and, well, combat-ready ninja. Heck, they were even comparable to Naruto, which meant that for most of their fights with these ninja, Kakashi would have to put on the burden of taking most of them on. The problem with that is, although there were many of these ninja, Kakashi's quite strong, right? Problem there. Kakashi doesn't necessarily have the chakra to just be able to walk around and, well, fight dozens and dozens and, well, dozens and, well, dozens of ninja. Now, you see, this ninja village had about 50 ninja that they could activate at any given moment. And those were just the ninja that weren't out doing missions so that the village could actually keep a flow of economy. Now, with that being said, 50 is a pretty small number when compared to great nations, but for a village this small, 50 is actually pretty good. And, well, they were giving Kakashi a run for his money. And since we know that Kakashi has nowhere near the same amount of chakra as Naruto, since, well, that's just been stated, he doesn't even have nearly the same amount of chakra as a 7-year-old Naruto. So maybe you can tell where this is going, but Kakashi would, well, he would give out. He wasn't, well, chakra bountiful enough to be able to take on 50 ninja at once, which meant that Naruto had to lighten the load with attacks from afar, ice release to be exact. It wouldn't be until he saw Kakashi noticeably get stabbed and injured by a shinobi that Naruto would stop being a long-range fighter. You see, Kakashi had told Naruto to stay back so that there was no reason that he would have to engage in the fight and possibly, well, get injured, die, anything really that would harm Naruto. You see, Kakashi didn't want Naruto to get harmed in any of their missions. That's why he didn't go on A-rank missions, even though he was well enough capable to do so, as he is a Jonin. Now, fact of the matter is, there would be about 20 shinobi left, and Kakashi was practically on his knees fighting most of them with taijutsu and using his kunai. But Kakashi was a Leaf Jonin. Heck, he was the legendary copy ninja. Now, there was just one small problem. If Kakashi was just worrying about himself, he could probably defeat 50 ninja. Pretty confident about that one, actually. But problem is, he was also focusing on Naruto, making sure that he was alright, as many other ninjas saw this and they would take advantage of it, hitting Kakashi in his blind spots, attacking or pretending to attack Naruto so that Kakashi would have to shift his focus to the ninja that was trying to attack Naruto, and then he would get hit from behind. You get the point. Just, well, a crap show, if you will. Now, with that being said, Kakashi had no other option but to use his summonings, as he would summon 2 ninja hounds to help him. Now, these ninja hounds would help him as most of the ninja would be defeated. It would be then that another ninja appeared. He was different, to say the least. And you could tell. His eyes were green and he wore a sort of mask to cover his face. He also appeared to have a ninja headband that, well, was not the village that they were in's headband to, well, be specific. It was almost like a line and then a lightning bolt, and then another line and a lightning bolt spaced in between, and then a slit through it. Kakashi could tell that this man was a rogue shinobi, and after defeating all 50 ninja, you can imagine, Kakashi was kinda spent. And so, he would begin to run away. He would tell Naruto to retreat, as Naruto would follow suit. But the problem here was that the ninja was no slouch. He would appear in front of Kakashi. His speed was nothing to laugh at. Kakashi said nothing. He wanted to see what Naruto would do. And from what Naruto would do is where he would make his move, decide what his next part of attack or countermeasure would be. Now, the thing about this ninja was that he appeared to look like a zombie. He was shirtless, although his pants were green, and he had a ninja pouch at the back of it. But besides that, the guy was all stitched up. He looked quite crazy, to be honest. Now, what they didn't realize was that on his, pants was red flames. Red flamed clouds. Whilst his pants were black. And maybe you can see who this is. This is 𝘎𝙍𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉, the rogue ninja from the land hidden within a waterfall. Now, with that being said, Kakashi didn't know this. He didn't know any of the abilities of 𝘎𝙍𝙄, and so he could do nothing but attack. And so 𝘎𝙍𝙄 and Kakashi would get into a fight. I see no reason why 𝘎𝙍𝙄 would immediately pull out his hearts, as, there's no reason to. He himself is already one heart, and he doesn't need his 4 other hearts to help him. But Naruto, who was watching this battle occur, realized that there were 4 masks on his back. These are 𝘎𝙍𝙄's other hearts. Naruto, for some reason, got the idea to freeze them, which he would do, attacking 𝘎𝙍𝙄 from behind as his back grew stiff, which allowed Kakashi to get the upper hand and actually hit him more and more. Eventually, Kakashi would jump back, creating distance between him and 𝘎𝙍𝙄, as Kakashi would ask Naruto to quickly stall 𝘎𝙍𝙄. Naruto would do so, sending a magnitude of paper bombs, shurikens, and kunai at him. He would then use a jutsu that he called Paper Bomb Barrage, as he would take a shadow clone and basically just make it hold a ton of paper bombs and explode the shadow clone after it latched onto his target. He would do so as the shadow clone jumped onto 𝘎𝙍𝙄 trying to throw it off, would then be exploded on with a ton of paper bombs. Don't take that the wrong way. I don't want to get any comments, because some people just take the things I say wrongly. I'm just kidding. It's completely fine. I love what I do, and this would be the perfect time to like and subscribe. Now, with that being said, 𝘎𝙍𝙄 had noticeably taken a hit. Actually, half of his face seemed to be, let's just say he looked like Two-Face. Now, with that being said, Kakashi's Chidori was ready, as he would stab 𝘎𝙍𝙄 right in the heart. 𝘎𝙍𝙄 would then die, but unfortunately for both Kakashi and Naruto, it seemed like his back was starting to melt a little. You see, the lightning created a sort of heat bubble around 𝘎𝙍𝙄. But also, lucky for them, Kakashi pierced through 2 of 𝘎𝙍𝙄's hearts at once. As he pierced through his heart, he also happened to go all the way through 𝘎𝙍𝙄 and hit one of the masks on his back, which, therefore eliminated 2 of his hearts in one go, which meant that 𝘎𝙍𝙄 only has 3 hearts, although his main body has been killed, so he would have to replace that with another heart, which leaves him with really only 2 hearts that they'd have to destroy, although, of course, they do not know this. Naruto would then tell Kakashi that he's not dead. He can tell. Kakashi knew this and would step back. What is up with this guy? He thought to himself. Naruto would look at Kakashi, nodding. What's the matter? What's up with him? I pierced right through his heart, I know it. I know. I saw your hands right through the guy. Is he a zombie? Is he mortal? Well. It's almost like your idea worked. When I was fighting him, I realized that he was scared. Heck, you could even say that he was nervous. His muscles weren't as relaxed as when he originally was fighting me. It was almost as if immediately when you froze the mask on his back, that he grew weary. Maybe those act as hearts? I see no reason why Kakashi wouldn't be able to deduce this after Naruto froze the hearts and he saw the change, the quite big change in how Kakuzu was fighting him. Relaxed, nonchalant, versus calculated and, well, even a little bit nervous and twitchy at times. Kakashi would be able to deduce that, well, Kakuzu had 2 to 3 more hearts left, due to the fact that if his body acted as one heart, as he visibly destroyed one of the hearts within Kakuzu, as he could literally feel it, then those 2 on the back also counted as hearts, which meant that Kakuzu had 3 hearts left that he would have to destroy. Kakashi thought about it. Kakuzu seemed like quite the nin, and so he decided why not. He's not going to use another Chidori, but what if he uses a kunai and just goes straight for the heart? And so he would. Unfortunately for Kakashi, his kunai would completely shatter, something that had never happened in Kakashi's life. A kunai shattering? He doesn't know if that's ever happened in the history of, well, the ninja world. His kunai would completely shatter due to the fact that Kakuzu's body had become an impenetrable device of sorts. It was so incredibly hard that it could not be injured. And this didn't slow Kakuzu down either. He was still able to tangle with Kakashi. Kakashi would then yell out, "Hatake!" which, well, to Naruto, meant use the body flicker jutsu and get the hell out of there. And so, Kakashi, in a last-ditch effort, would power his feet with chakra, kicking Kakuzu. This would be able to send him back a few feet, but it wouldn't do any noticeable damage, as Kakashi would leave the scene. Kakuzu would grit his teeth. I've already lost 2 hearts. If we keep on fighting like this, he might have the chance to kill me. I suppose it's smart to stop. But those bounties! Everybody's wanted his head, the copy ninja. Unfortunately, he's not the slouch I thought he was. Damn it! Kakuzu would yell to himself. I just wanted that Rio. And now, they've gone and ruined my chance. And that brat he's longing with. That brat he walks around with, he's different, he's special. Ugh. Unfortunately, he doesn't even have a bounty. Damn it! Kakuzu would say again. With that, he would turn around. Kakashi, realizing, would slow his pace down to catch his breath. Who was that guy? He was strong. Like, incredibly strong. Like, maybe even stronger than you. Yeah, I know. It seems like I'm gonna have to get a lot stronger. At your age? Kakashi, you're basically a grandpa. I'm under 30 years old. Don't talk to me like that. I'm not a grandpa. I'm Kakashi Hatake. Alright. Whatever you say, old man. Hey, don't call me an old man. Like I said, I'm under 30. Wait, Kakashi, are you actually under 30? Yes. Of course I am. What? Well, I asked this to ask that, I don't know. You're way older, aren't you? No, I'm not way older. I'm only 22 years old. We actually know that this is fact because Kakashi was between 26 and 27 throughout the first part of Naruto, and he goes from 29 to 31 years old in the, well, parts of Shippuden. Now, with that being said, that's a fact, so Kakashi wasn't actually lying when he said he was 22 years old. Naruto would almost gasp. You're 22? You can barely drink sake. Hey, that's not true. I've been drinking sake since Never mind. Kakashi would say nothing as they headed back to the Leaf Village. They managed to deliver the document as they would get paid by the village, although with some skepticism. Kakashi and Naruto would personally travel to the village, as they would ask the village's leader, whose name happened to be Supato, what the matter was, why they were attacked by so many ninja. Supato would explain that during his creation of the village, there was a rogue faction. Those were the members of the rogue faction, and that he sincerely apologized and hoped that it did not sour the relationship between the Leaf and, well, his own land. Supato was a fitting name because, well, the village was known as the village hidden within soup. They would drastically increase their economy by joining up with the Leaf Village, and the Leaf would benefit from it too. A variety of different soups had entered its lands, and even became a new point of tourism for both nations. The Leaf gained tourism from people who wanted to try the soups and see the village, and, well, the Leaf gained, the soup village gained tourism from the Leaf due to the fact that villagers wanted to see where the soup came from, the nation where it was derived from. Now, with that being said, some more time would pass and Naruto would now be 8 years old. He would enlist in the academy and he would breeze through it. He already had proper chakra control, he already could use a shadow clone, he already had a variety of jutsu using his ice release, although had not yet even tapped into a single chakra nature, and he had proper kenjutsu use, he could do certain situations, he was more smart than anyone in the room, let alone his battle sense, which was on the level of even people like Kakashi at his very, very, very young age. Now, with that being said, how fast does he go through the academy? Well, it would take him about a year, which puts him in the discussion for, well, one of the fastest people to ever graduate from the academy, and he would immediately become a genin, no questions asked. Now, with that being said, he would now officially be able to start going on missions with Kakashi, and not just so that he could start, developing his battle sense and, well, just gain some more experience, but actually to start collecting for himself and, well, getting some missions under his belt, By the end of the year, Naruto had amassed a number of 26 B-rank missions, because quite literally all he did were B-rank missions, no matter what they were. Heck, if it was he had to travel around the world to the, Hidden Stone Village and, well, deliver something from there to another nation, and, well, there was the chance of being ambushed, he didn't care. It didn't matter. If it was a B-rank mission, he took it. This was because they seemed to be the most normal, yet also unpredictable. You see, they seemed to be the most normal because they were exactly as described. You're gonna do this, there's not the highest risk ever, but there's not the highest no risk ever. So it's, you get the risk and you get your reward. Now, with that being said, some more time would pass, about 3 years to be exact, and Naruto is quite literally now 12 years old, which is around the time that, well, his fellow nin, or rather the fellow Konoha 12, are graduating. Now, with that being said, Naruto was far above his graduation class, but he had yet to ever be put under a Jonin captain. And although Naruto could have the choice of just progressing to a Chunin and possibly even a Jonin, he decided that he wouldn't mind actually gaining some experience from a Jonin captain. And it was also around this time that he decided that he wanted to honor his dream as a young child, to become Hokage. And so he would start working even harder to do so, even making some strides. He developed a chakra nature, and he even created his own jutsu at the age of 12 years old. This jutsu would be known as, well, Deep Dark Wind Style. Shards of Infinity. Basically, he would collect wind style within, well, his lungs, launching a attack that is similar to the Gale Palm, which is a technique that Naruto knows in this timeline at this point in time. But with that being said, it would create a small wind blast, and after the wind blast initially hit, the wind would actually disguise the ice shards, as the ice would move so fast that it would pierce through his target, or at least go right past the defenses and hit whatever it was supposed to hit with precise aim. This was a deadly jutsu that Kakashi would even deem a A-rank jutsu at the very least. Now, with that being said, Naruto would actually happen to join Team 7 just like he did in the canon. But after some confusion, he would actually have to be forced out of Team 7 and on his own. What I mean by that is, since Naruto graduated the academy so quickly, they would have another student. This student would actually have the same name as another academy student, Shino, but it wasn't Shino 𝙎𝙈𝙊𝙊𝙏, this was Shino Funny enough, Taka, yeah, anyway, Naruto had been replaced by this guy because, well, it just happened. And luckily for Team 7, Taka would get the idea of just working together to attack Kakashi, and he would see that as teamwork and end up passing them out of all the other genin that he had failed in the academy test / the bell test. Now, with that being said, Naruto was on his own. He would be promoted to the rank of Chunin, and after some time, even Jonin. The same amount of time that it would take his Team 7 squad with Sasuke, Sakura, Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, of course, and, well, Shino Taka, getting the necessary experience that Kakashi thought was necessary for them to go on a C-rank mission instead of a D-rank mission. They would go on the D-rank mission to the Land of Waves, and quite literally after going on it, they would be attacked. Sasuke would still see this attack coming, and, well, Kakashi would end up extracting information from the Demon Brothers. They would go along their way, and eventually they would reach, well, the land hidden in the waves. Now, Taka was an exceptional taijutsu user, but his ninjutsu was a bit on the subpar part. He also was pretty good with kunai and even carried a short sword in case of any fights. And that's where this short sword would come in to help, as he would use it to defend himself from Haku, who would attack him and Sasuke, as Kakashi had to deal with Zabuza. And in this timeline, fortunately for him, he doesn't get stuck in the water prison. Now, with that being said, why does he not get hit with the water prison? Because this Kakashi is significantly stronger than his canon counterpart at this time. Now, I say significantly, but really I only mean 1.3 times stronger, but honestly that's pretty good, because 1.5 times stronger would really just be half of what you already were, and, well, that's basically half of doubling your strength. So Kakashi's much stronger in this timeline than he was when he originally fought Zabuza, which means that he gives Zabuza a greater run for his money and doesn't even get caught in the water prison yet. Now, or possibly even ever. Now, with that being said, some more time would pass. I know I'm saying with that being said a lot, but it's one of those things that I say. With that being said, you see, and if you will. Now, with that being said, they would basically retreat and, well, to fight another day, as, well, Shino happened to get injured. It would be here that they would meet Zabuza and Haku again after about a week. Funny enough, a certain ninja had requested a mission from the Hokage to go to a village called the village hidden in Ebisu, which happened to be a small fruit. Now, this fruit isn't real, but it is going to be real for the sake of this timeline. Now, with that being said, Naruto would quickly finish his mission. Actually, he would finish it way faster than he thought, and he would even pick up the cash for finishing the mission from, well, the village hidden in Abisu's Hokage / Kage, as, well, they didn't really have a leader, so they have a Hokage / Kage, who's their leader. Yeah. Now, with that also being said, Naruto would be returning from the village, and it just so happened to be that the Land of Waves was on his way, and he heard that they had amazing seafood. But he also heard that there was a bridge that had to get constructed, and that it was actually in the works of being constructed right now by Hidden Leaf Shinobi. And so he saw no reason why not to check up on the ninja. What if it was Kakashi's squad, or even Might Guy's squad, someone who Naruto had come to know? And with that being said, Naruto would do so, venturing out to the Land of Waves, where he knew they were. With that being said, I hope that you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I know, kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger. Not a huge one, but a little bit of one. Yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That would be deeply appreciated. Share the video to a friend who likes this first make content in general. And with that being said, we can now end the video. This has been 𝘎𝙗𝙊𝙃𝙃. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and 𝘎𝙗𝙃 out. 𝘎𝙗𝙃 back with another video. This is part 3 to What If Naruto Ice release. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Share the video to a friend who likes what ifs or just anime content in general. And with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. We left off with Naruto basically saying bye, but he hadn't yet fully said goodbye. So we're basically just going to pick up from there. And, take care, Kakashi. Kakashi would nod, as Naruto would disappear. Now that he and 𝙎𝙈𝙊𝙃 were isolated, they would speak after, well, he woke up 𝙎𝙈𝙃. What do you want, Leaf Shinobi? Or are you here to kill me? Extract information. I don't give a damn about information, 𝙎𝙗𝙃. I want to know one thing. I just have one question. What, are you a fan? I'm not a fan of the bloody demon of the mist. But, tell me, what is your goal? Your goal in life? Is that really even a question? I've watched you. About a year back, I saw you. I know it was you. I was reluctant to say it over there. I didn't want Kakashi asking any questions. But on a mission I was on by myself, I saw you. The demon of the mist. You took out several stone shinobi. Oh, and you didn't just do that, but you stole an important document all those years ago. A document that would do well to raise an army against the 4th Mizukage, 𝙎𝙈𝙁, the three-tailed beast. Why'd you say it with such silence? Yeah, he's the Three Tails. Like I give a damn. You shouldn't either. That tyrant will pay. Whatever. Explain your goal to me. It's just that. What was your name? It's Naruto. It's just that, Naruto. I want to destroy 𝙎𝙈𝙁. I want to crush him under my boot. He's the reason for the blood mist. I see. I see. So, how about this? I give you a word. Well, I give you my word. And even a promise. What are you promising me, and why are you promising me it? The promise is that I will make sure to aid you in the defeat of 𝙎𝙈𝙁. Trust me, that will make it exponentially easier. And, second, all I ask for is that you join the Hidden Leaf Village. What? I'm a rogue shinobi. They won't take me in. Are you an idiot? The Hidden Leaf Village has powerful jonin all throughout. You are easily Kage level. I could tell. You gave Kakashi a run for his money. There was no reason why Lord Third wouldn't accept you. It's not like taking you on would, well, promote a war between you and the Mist. Oh, and besides, I could talk him out of, well, not accepting you. By that I mean if he decided that he didn't want to accept you, I could talk him into accepting you. You make a fair point, I suppose. But nothing, 𝙎𝙗𝙃. We'll take Haku in too. What does Haku have to do with this? Well, you might not like it, but me and Haku share a few things in common. What kind of things? 𝙎𝙗𝙃 grew serious. You care about her more than I thought you did. Her, it's him. No. I know the secret. What? Yeah. He's pretending to be a boy so that you so that you gain respect for him, so that you acknowledge him. She doesn't have to do that. You didn't know? What? Yeah. Point is, Haku is from the Yuki clan, I have heard, which means that I'm also from that very clan. We possess the same Kekkei Genkai, ice release. What? Really? Yes. Fine. Zabuza would consider his options, and he would actually join up with Naruto. But on one condition. What's the condition? Zabuza Momochi. You did your research, huh? Yeah, I did. After seeing someone with the mist headband and, well, it being crossed out and knowing that they were a rogue ninja, I had to do my research on the highly classified mist ninja that escaped. Most keep their mouths shut. Heck, some would die before selling out their village, even as rogues. But you were different. You actively aggressed towards the mist. That's interesting, honestly. Anyway, what's your condition? It's that I get to go over to that bridge, wait for Gato. Who's Gato? That's besides the point. And I get to kill him and all of his bandit scum. Alright. I give you full permission to do that, Zabuza. So I'm your little minion now? No. But if I ever need your help, then you help me, and if you ever need mine, then I help you. Makes sense? Yeah. Oh, in a year to 2 years from now, if you need help defeating Yagura, I will be strong enough to help you. Actually, I may be strong enough to defeat him myself. Kakashi says that if I keep training with the Kyuubi... What? The Nine-Tails? Yes, the Kyuubi. Then, by 14 years old, I might have full mastery over it. You're the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails? What? Wow. Belief's no joke. They've already weaponized their Biju. You could say that. Anyway. We have a deal? Yeah, we have a deal. Zabuza would raise his hand up to shake Naruto's hand, as, well, at the moment he was on the ground, as Naruto standing up would shake his hand. After they were done shaking hands, they would release from each other's hands, as Naruto would then outstretch his hand once more towards, well, Zabuza, as he would lift Zabuza up. Zabuza, once he was lifted up, felt a freeness. It felt like he had true freedom. And so, soon enough, he would wait for Gato and his men to show up, and they would. And let's just say Zabuza would tear through his men like mincemeat. And, well, if his men were mincemeat, then Gato was the biggest prize. As, well, Gato was a feast. Zabuza plunged his blade right through him, kicked him off of his blade, and sent him flying into the rivers of the Land of Waves. To die, alone and cold. Sorry if that was kind of dark. Gato deserves a worse death than that, honestly. But Zabuza was... That's what Zabuza felt was the right thing to do. Let him die alone. As he was surrounded by bandits, he must have never felt alone. Like he always had someone there to protect him, to help him. Alone in the cold waters of the Land of Waves. That's where he would meet challenge. That's where he would be sorrow, sad, and empty. With that being said, Naruto would actually help the bridge be complete, as he would spend most of the time catching up with Kakashi, telling Kakashi before leaving that he needs to pay rent, as he would then disappear. Kakashi would yell at Naruto as he was leaving, as, well, Naruto kind of embarrassed him in front of his students. With that, they began their walk back to the Hidden Leaf Village, as Sasuke would actually ask Kakashi a question. Kakashi-sensei? Yeah? What's up? Sasuke, if it's gonna be about my injuries, don't worry about it. Kakashi was fighting his own battle. Heck, I wish Naruto got there sooner, but there was nothing we could do. Shino, stop being such a Debbie Downer. You could still be a ninja, you know? Sasuke, stop it. But, yeah, Sasuke, go on. What was your question? I'm sure Kakashi-sensei is delighted to hear it. Hey, what's that supposed to mean, Shino? It means that Kakashi's delighted to hear it, Sakura dork. Okay, that's a new one. Sasuke would continue. My question was, how the hell is Naruto so damn powerful when we're the same age? I was on my knees in pain. Taka was passed out. Heck, he won't ever be able to be a ninja again, in his own words. And well, what? Well, Naruto arrived and he destroyed Haku like she, I don't know which one, was nothing. He quite literally one-shot her. Him, it's her, but yeah. I see your concern. What does it matter how strong he is, though? Because, how did he grow that fast? How is he that powerful? It's because Naruto doesn't have just any goal or any dream. Naruto wants to be the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. What? He wants to be Hokage? Does he really think he can... Huh. Maybe he can be Hokage. Just maybe he can. See? He might just be able to do it. It's all about the faith. I'd say that might quite honestly be one of Naruto's greatest traits. You put a little faith in him and, well, he might just get the job done. Anyway, is that your last question, Sasuke? I guess so, but you really didn't give me a straightforward answer. You just said it's because he wants to be Hokage. So what? He trains 24/7? Even if he did train 24/7 and that's what your answer was, I wouldn't believe you. It's true. Hey, you don't believe me? How about you go to the training grounds on the east side of the village, or even the south side. You go there, and you catch Naruto, just watch him. Heck, bring some popcorn or some ramen. Because he'll be there. All hours of the day. Trust me. Trust me. And if he leaves, it's just to get food or to find a jonin in the village who would like to train with him. Because he's so determined that people would probably die doing the training that he does. How he pushes his body through unsustainable limits. He displays power on a catastrophic level. Anyway, we're almost at the Leaf Village, guys. Question, Sensei. Shino would ask. Go on, Shino. What's the matter? Is it wrong for me to have forgiven Haku after hearing about... I don't know. No, it's not wrong. I believe that forgiveness is sometimes the right thing. The right thing to do in many cases at times. Don't feel bad about it. Don't be discouraged. To forgive Haku? That shows that you have a bigger heart than many, many, many people. You understand? Yeah. I actually think I do. What's the matter? I want to be a medical scientist. That sounds amazing. And, do you know where they went? Zabuza and Haku? They went along in front of us to the Hidden Leaf Village with Naruto. I'm pretty sure they meet him at the halfway point of the village, and then they go on all together. Once they get to the village, they stay outside of the border. Naruto goes in to speak to the third about it. If he can convince him, then they are let through the border. If he can't, then, well, I don't know what he would do from there, to be honest. Anyways. With that being said, after some time, they would all return to the Hidden Leaf Village, and Naruto would knock on the Hokage office, being let in by Hiruzen. What's the matter, Naruto? What would you like to discuss? I'm here to discuss a certain two ninja. You mind? No. Hit me. May Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the Hidden Mist Village, and Hakuyuki, a fellow member of my all-but-gone clan, join the village hidden in the leaves per your permission, Lord Third. One is a criminal rogue ninja who left his village. One who may have information that may prove valuable to the Hidden Leaf in future. The other is a close, or rather distant, cousin of mine, who needs a place, who needs a home. These are two ninja who you may take a risk in letting in, but they will prove invaluable to anything that the Leaf may do in future. Zabuza is a Hokage level ninja, and Haku is about the same. I believe that they will prove useful to the future of this village. Please accept my request, Hiruzen! Naruto now had tears streaming down his face as Hiruzen looked down at him. Well, could I say no? I guess he just talk no jutsu'd me into saying yes. What? Really? Of course, Naruto. If they are as you say, then there is no reason for me not to accept them. Even if the risk of, well, the Hidden Mist Village provoking a war. I will shut that down before it even happens. If it ever happens. Thank you, Lord Third. Naruto would bow to his Kage, leaving the room. Zabuza Momochi and Hakuyuki are now members of the Hidden Leaf Village. With that being said... No, I was not about to end the video there. I hope that's not what you thought. I was actually just going to say, with that being said, Zabuza and Haku would be greeted by Naruto, who would let them into the village. Per, well, the third Hokage allowing them. It would be then that the third Hokage would appear. The villagers were, well, what were they supposed to be? Not surprised? Well, they were stunned. Lord Third appeared out of nowhere at lightning-fast speeds. It appeared that their old Kage was still youthful in some ways. Hiruzen stood firm, holding a pipe in his left hand. As he then said these words loudly so that the people in the area could hear and spread the rumors. Spread what he said, far and wide throughout the village. You are Hakuyuki, and you are Zabuza Momochi. Some of the villagers, recognizing Zabuza's name, were in awe that they were within the walls of the village. Others said nothing but quietly watched and listened to Lord Third. I hereby claim you two as members of the Hidden Leaf Village. You are just as much a Leaf citizen as anyone around me. If in any way you ever fear or feel threatened by any other ninja, by any other civilian, villager, whatever, then you may come to me and I will handle it immediately. You, just like any other villager within this nation, is my top priority. You are now under my protection. Thank you. Hiruzen would disappear, as Naruto would look back at both Zabuza and Haku, smiling. Zabuza would then scratch his head. Well, now this is awkward. The old man left, and now all these villagers are staring at us like we're from a different planet. Yeah, it happens. Get used to it. I'm the Jinchuriki, after all. People have been staring at me like an outsider my entire life. Anyway. So, I was thinking on the way that I was, well, coming here, how exactly you guys would sleep at night, you know, where you guys would sleep at night, because there isn't necessarily an orphanage for adults, unfortunately. But I have an idea, if you wouldn't mind. An idea? Okay. What's the idea, Naruto? Haku would ask. Well, since both of you are so curious, the idea is actually quite simple. We all live together in a home that I buy. I'll pay rent, I'll pay every bill. I don't mind. But I'm kinda old, or rather older, and I wouldn't mind moving out of Kakashi's house. Or, actually, new idea, you guys can just move in with me. I already have a house at Kakashi's, and we'll get an extension so that there's more than enough room. I've saved up enough money for it. It won't even do a dent to my savings, at least. I'm gonna be dirt broke for a couple months, though. Anyway, point is, how does that sound? Naruto, your offer is generous and all, but we don't want to suck you dry of your money like that. That's true, but I'm telling you it's okay. It's, you could even say it's what I want. Anyway. Alright, but how exactly are we supposed to pay you back? I don't see money growing on trees anywhere. Well, I have an idea. You go speak to Hiruzen sometime, and I'm absolutely positive he would turn you both into Jonin. Once you two are Jonin, you can go on as many missions as you'd like. And, never mind the fact that you'd be Jonin, but if you go on missions, you'd start pulling in some money. Some real money. Not the crap you get for the bounties in the bingo books. Although, that is money. It's dirty, you know? Tainted, you could say. Blood money, even. But, yeah. You can slowly pay me back as little or as much as you want at a time, and, well, yeah, that's that. So, don't you worry about it. Are you sure? Absolutely positive, okay, Zabuza? Haku? Then we graciously accept your offer. Thank you, Naruto. We appreciate it, as you can tell. I already said, don't sweat it. Naruto would then tell them that he actually has a place that both of them can stay the night while they get an extension. Now, how is Naruto going to get an extension on his house done in one day? Well, first of all, because he's going to help it get done, but second of all, because he's hiring most of the carpenters within the Leaf Village to do so at one time, and, well, by using a certain carpenter who actually happens to be a ninja, who happens to have a job out, which was really only a D-rank mission, but it's still a job, to help with any repairs or even add an extension onto your house, using a particular jutsu The jutsu is known as wood style, and the person responsible for it would be none other than Yamato. Yamato would offer his services as he would create the foundation for the home, and all the carpenters had to do was, well, basically just create walls. Naruto would then hire an interior designer to get everything sorted out within, whether that be furniture, counters, whatever. And, well, there was, well, now so much more space. Kakashi's home was actually tripled almost. With that being said, the place that they had to stay in, Zabuza and Haku, for the night, was, funnily enough, Naruto's old apartment, which had moldy ramen cups almost everywhere they tried to step. But Haku would sleep on the bed and Zabuza would sleep on the floor, using his sword, well, his sword's sheath as a pillowcase. Or pillow, rather. Not even a case, just the whole entire pillow. With that being said, they would later move into Naruto's house the next day, thanking Naruto for everything. Now, some time would pass. Just enough time for the Chunin exams to kick off. Now, I'm actually going to be skipping the Forest of Death all the way on to Naruto's fight with Gaara. Now, why am I doing that? Well, it's actually quite simple. That also includes the Chunin exams written test. But it's actually for the sole reason that, well, everything goes almost identical to the canon, except for one thing in the Forest of Death, which is Naruto's fight with Orochimaru, which we'll get into now. Orochimaru would appear out of nowhere, trying to bite Sasuke, as Naruto would grab Sasuke, ducking to the ground. The problem with this is, why is Naruto in the Forest of Death? Well, for the simple reason of the fact that he had to take the Chunin exams, regardless of if he had a squad or not. With that being said, there was one other reason. Because Naruto would actually join Team 7 himself. And, well, funny enough, it was due to the fact that, well, Haku had injured Shino Taka so gravely that he was no longer able to be a ninja, and they needed someone to fill the role of their 3rd/4th member. And who was better than Naruto Uzumaki? With that being said, Naruto would grab Sasuke, ducking and basically just slowly retreating. But he realized that just about wherever they went, Orochimaru would be following them. And so, Naruto dropped Sasuke to the ground as he told Sasuke to run as fast as he could out of the village. Why? Why do you want me to run now? Because, just, can you trust me on this? But it makes no sense. Why would I be running and you stay? Yeah, Naruto, he has a point, Sakura would add. It's because the man who's attacked you, he's not just some random sound shinobi. That's the snake son in Orochimaru. I'm almost positive. My adopted father, Kakashi Hatake, or sensei, he told me that Orochimaru was someone who had experimented on many people, and that he was looking for the perfect vessel. And in specific, he was looking for a Sharingan. He told me that he had encountered Orochimaru on his way to leaving and escaping the village as a rogue ninja. That they fought, and for a moment, Kakashi even got the better hand of him, and then Kakashi was swiftly defeated. That was Kakashi as an Anbu. If he's anywhere on the level of that, then I need to do this alone. Let alone the fact that if what Sensei said is true, and he seeks for a body with a Sharingan, that means that he only has 3 potential victims. You, Itachi Uchiha, how do you know about, and Kakashi. How do you know about Itachi? Everyone knows that Itachi's the only other Uchiha to escape the massacre. Because he was the one who did it. Sorry to bring up full of memories. Painful ones, too. I... Just run. Trust me. Sasuke would jump up to, his feet, and he would start running some more. Naruto would then fix his attention back to Orochimaru. As soon as he saw Sasuke and Sakura get far enough away. You want to mess with Sasuke, you have to get through me first. Oh, and that biting crap? Call me a germaphobe, but I'm not gonna let your fangs get anywhere near me or my teammates. Naruto drew his blade. You talk a loud game, but really, who are you? My name is Naruto Uzumaki Hatake. I am the son of Kakashi Hatake, and the son of the late, great 4th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, Minato Namikaze. My mother was the former Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. And if this isn't all adding up to you, you and I have a bone to pick. A familial bone to pick. You're quite right. Minato beat me to the spot of becoming 4th Hokage. Actually, he was voted first and I was voted third. Right behind the Uchiha Fugaku. It's unfortunate, really. I wouldn't have to hide away in hideouts. I could do all my work within the Hidden Leaf Village without anyone knowing it. Well, it's good, isn't it? That the Hidden Leaf didn't elect you as the Hokage. Even though they were so close to doing so. Because if they did do so, then we would have someone who's undeserving of being Hokage. Huh? Where'd you go, Snake? Where did you go? Naruto smiled. You thought that you could use this mud clone as a diversion, huh? Orochimaru was linked to this clone and realized what had just happened, that his clone had been figured out. He figured it out that quickly. Huh. Maybe I should be going after him and not Sasuke. Either way, I'm too far to back out now. Naruto would disappear, reappearing behind the clone. His kunai had went right through it. And with that, he disappeared once more, using the body flicker technique to appear in front of Orochimaru, got punching him and sending him flying into a tree stump. Now, 3 paper bomb release, Dara style. Ice release shuriken. Naruto would then use his ice release to create 2 shurikens, sending them flying into Orochimaru and cutting into him. It would be here that he would send 3 paper bombs down onto Orochimaru, as they would all explode. Naruto now assumed that Orochimaru was dead, but a part of him knew that this couldn't be the case. No way would that, which is the legendary Sannin, be defeated in such a fashion. And he was correct. As the smoke cleared, he would watch as Orochimaru's mouth started to expand, and a hand would come out of that mouth. Naruto would then unsheath his sword yet again. You think you can just regenerate like that? Naruto would cut off Orochimaru's head, and then would cut off the arm, revealing a ton of snakes that would evidently form Orochimaru's new body. You know, no one's ever cut me so precisely. Almost every action you do and use has some sort of purpose. It's quite odd, even. I'm surprised. Such a talent. What'd you say you wanted to? Become Hokage, was it? I said nothing of wishing to become Hokage. That's a path that led to the death of my father. The first Hokage, the second Hokage, and many winners and even losers who wished to become Hokage but never either got the chance or were killed too soon to do anything about this ninja world. Ah, I see. So you just wish to serve your village. That's pitiful for someone with such talent. Naruto would then grab his blade, plunging it into Orochimaru and freezing Orochimaru's body so that it could nor regenerate or move. You see, Orochimaru, I was just kidding. Actually, I wasn't just kidding about anything. I never actually said I didn't want to be Hokage. I just said that that's how my dad died, and the first Hokage, and the second Hokage, and the many other people who wish to become Hokage, and even how I could die one day. It's almost like a curse that all Hokage are fated to die one day. But that's just not true. Lord Third's still kicking it, and if he dies at, what, 80, 70? He's lived a fruitful life. One problem, Orochimaru. You're a threat to not only Lord Third, but my father, and Sasuke, longtime friend. You see, I just can't let you live. Naruto would then pull out his ice sword, which was already frozen. Once I kill you with this, there will be no going back, Orochimaru. Naruto would go to slice Orochimaru, but as he did, it just so happened that, funny enough, the angle of Naruto's arm was just close enough to Orochimaru's mouth that he could bite him, which meant that the cursed seal was now, or rather cursed mark, was now on Naruto's arm. As, well, Naruto would jump back due to the pain, still managing to cut Orochimaru's head clean off. With that being said, Naruto fell to the ground. What is this pain? It hurts so much. Naruto would then get the neat idea to freeze his arm. If he froze his arm and, let's say, the curse mark acted similar in a way to, say, poison, as well it would be fitting since Orochimaru was a snake, then Naruto would effectively be able to, well, slow down the jutsu from affecting his body entirely, freezing his arm completely as it grew stiff, numb, and unmovable, and even unusable in some ways. Naruto would then realize that the curse mark was spreading rapidly on his body. Now, why isn't Naruto in constant pain right now and falling to the ground and basically in a sickened state like Sasuke was when he first got his, well, curse mark? Well, obviously after a bit afterwards, but you get the point. Well, it's actually quite simple. Because Naruto is an Uzumaki and, well, also the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, not only is the Nine-Tails fighting the curse mark and Orochimaru's presence in Naruto's body, but, well, Naruto's own chakra is too. Never mind the fact that, well, Naruto has amazing chakra on his own. It would be then that Naruto thought to himself, maybe he should just amputate his arm. Completely. But who would do that? But then he thought to himself, what if he becomes a vessel of Orochimaru's through being bitten by this curse mark? With that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. The next installment of this What If will be done in What If Naruto had ice released the movie. I just had a yawn. I'm not editing that out, unfortunately, for you guys who heard that yawn. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, share the video to a friend like this, or just hang the content in general. Check out the description down below. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings about the video, as well as what are suggestions, as that would be deeply appreciated. And this has been Rami X. And Rami X out. Naruto now wondered if he should ask Orochimaru what exactly the cursed seal does, how it would affect his body, and, well, what he should do to remove it. But, well, Orochimaru's body quickly turned into about hundreds and hundreds of snakes and, well, slithered away into the dark corners of the forest of death. Naruto now saw this as a sign of Orochimaru actually having life still and didn't know what to do. It would be here that he made a decision. A decision that would, technically speaking, change his life. As he would unsheath his blade, he would go to cut his arm, but he would be stopped. He looked to see who stopped him, and it appeared to be someone with long hair, their face being covered by an Anbu mask. They wore a robe, a blue one at that. Naruto then asked what the matter was, why the person, well, was there. My name is Hakuyuki, and you once saved my life from a life on the run, with nowhere to call home, to a life where I can go home every day, where I can cook for friends and family, where I can sleep when it gets dark out, and, well, you get the point. And so, well, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't understand why you're trying to cut your arm off, but... Haku? Yes, it's me. But I'm sure there's a solution. A solution that can be fixed. Naruto would grit his teeth. Something was happening to him. Something was changing within his body. It was almost as if the cursed seal on his arm was activating, and he would begin to see black markings on his body. Naruto tried to contain it. He didn't want to say or do anything, in fear of harming Haku, who didn't even move. It was as if she didn't even care if she got hurt. She cared more so about saving Naruto and his arm, making sure that he didn't make the mistake of losing his arm, and instead trying to find a solution. Haku, still with her hand firmly placed on Naruto's shoulder, would watch as Naruto struggled in pain, and she tried to comfort him, rubbing his shoulder and telling him that everything would be fine. But when Haku said everything would be fine, it was like that made Naruto just snap. Everything turned black, and then everything turned red. And when Naruto's eyes reopened, they were a yellowish brown. And there was a clear change in his chakra. And yet still, Haku didn't move. She knew that Naruto was a threat to her now. That something had changed in his chakra, and that his aura that was so kind, so warm, and so friendly and abundant with life had turned into a menacing chakra, dark and devoid of everything that made it Naruto. And so Naruto would slam his fist into Haku's gut, sending her onto her knees. Naruto, how? Why are you doing this? You think I give a damn about my arm? I don't. Oh, and stop poking your nose in things that don't matter. It's my arm, not yours, Haku. Naruto would then pick Haku up by the neck, throwing her into a nearby tree. You ever get in my way again, and I swear to you, I will rip out your spine and kill you. No questions asked. Got it? But at that point, Haku had already passed out. Haku was a ninja, technically speaking. She was a Jonin to low Kage level threat easily. Heck, you could even put her much higher than that. So I see no reason why she wouldn't be able to wake up even after being knocked out, and even in a short amount of time, waking up within only just seconds of when Naruto made her go unconscious. Haku then stood up, dusting off her clothes. It may be true. It may be true that if I stick my nose in your business again, that you'll kill me, Naruto. And that you'll do it in a gruesome way. But if I gave up after failing once, then what would that make me? A quitter? You didn't quit when you asked Zabuza if he would join the village. You didn't quit when you told me that I could come to Konoha. Instead, you smiled in the face of danger, in the face of refusal, and even in the face of disapproval, arrogance, and everything in between. So if I leave now, then what does that make me? Naruto said nothing, looking down to the ground. His fists were clenched. And, well, his hands were even beginning to bleed. He was digging his nails into his skin so hard. Because Naruto knew he didn't want to do this. He knew that it was the curse mark on his arm, controlling him, forcing him. But if he went and just cut off his arm, then what Haku just fought for would mean nothing. What Haku was risking her life for in this moment would be nothing if he went along and did that. Because she's trying to save him. To save his arm. And she doesn't care about the risk to herself. And so, Haku would continue speaking to Naruto. I know you're in there. But I also know that if I continue this, if I continue talking, you'll harm me. You'll hurt me again. Or at least you'll try. I'm a member of the Yuki clan, a clan that has all but extinct. You are the only other member that's alive currently. Let us be one together, not enemies. But what you must know is that I wasn't raised in a ninja village where I was taught jutsu and chakra natures. I was raised by Zabuza, my mother and father before their passing. I have mastered my ice release. And upon coming to the village, I created a new jutsu. A jutsu so powerful, in fact, that it can contain even a bijou. Haku then clasped her in this timeline's hands together. If you believe that you are strong enough, if you believe that you have it in you, then go ahead, try and kill me. Naruto looked up, rushing towards Haku. You fell right for it, didn't you, Naruto? You didn't even see the puddle of water forming below your feet. What? What are you? Naruto looked down. You see, this jutsu first requires water style. I create a small puddle of water below the feet of whoever I'm casting the jutsu on. Now, this puddle of water is so small that even the greatest of, ninja with sensory skills wouldn't be able to sense it. Although, of course, they would sense the chakra in the surrounding area being used to cast the jutsu by me. Now, you see, you charged right for me, and so you made the second requirement for the jutsu. You see, speed. I needed something that could mix the water so fast that
stun even the quickest of enemies. So the moment that you charged at me with full speed, I had already had you trapped in this jutsu. Your speed makes the process of turning it into ice quicker and hardens my ice by sapping the chakra from you that you used to, well, attack me, and by continuing to sap it by you standing over the puddle. The ice that I use only hardens and hardens until it is strong enough to contain that very chakra. You could classify it as a sealing jutsu if you wished, but that's besides the point. Great ice trap. Divine ice age. The surrounding area around Naruto would quickly become mostly permafrost grass, and Naruto's body would begin to freeze over. Visibly, too. You could see it. And although Naruto tried to fight it, he tried to fight the sealing jutsu, it wouldn't work. Icicles would form around his legs, and, well, as if the ice release was wood style, stems of ice would sprout and, well, wrap around Naruto's body, causing him both immense pain and no ability to break free. Damn it. It's over now, huh? It's over, huh? Now does that sound like me? No, it does not. You don't give up. That's how I know I have to. While holding the jutsu with one hand, Haku would pull out her other hand. And within it was now a seal. That red chakra seal. With that, she continued to hold the jutsu as Nine-Tails chakra began to bubble around Naruto. You see, the Nine-Tails was fighting the curse mark and its effects on Naruto, and through doing so, he had accidentally let his own chakra seep through. And due to the fact that Naruto and the Nine-Tails actually have a relationship in this timeline, although regularly giving Naruto chakra in this timeline wouldn't be a big deal, he knew that that chakra would be used to fight Haku. And he knew that Haku was someone who Naruto cared about. And that, well, if Naruto awoke from his state of obviously, mental delusion and saw that he had killed Haku, then he would be broken. And so he tried to resist letting his chakra through the seal, but it was the only way. And as the chakra began to bubble around Naruto, he slowly began to break free from the seal. Or rather, from the sealing jutsu that Haku had tried to cast. And so, she would throw the seal at Naruto as it landed on his head. The bubbly chakra of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki began to fade as Naruto's body grew limp, falling on one knee. Well, what is this, Haku? Wait, where are we? Sakura, Sasuke, Orochimaru, wait, that blood on your face and the broken mask, were those, did I, Naruto would pass out. That took a lot out of me, Haku would say to herself. Okay. Haku would then put Naruto on her back as she would leave the Forest of Death. It seemed that Sasuke and Sakura had already left, narrowly escaping Gaara of the Sand. With that being said, Haku would also leave the forest and would take Naruto to a hospital, but not just any hospital. First, he would take Naruto to Kakashi, who would undo the curse seal, just as he undid the curse seal on Sasuke. With that, he would then bring, Naruto to a hospital that specialized in healing ninja. He would leave Naruto there, and, yeah, with that being said, some time would pass and Naruto would awaken, ready for the Chunin exams. The Chunin exams are just going to have to match up with this timeline, so Naruto would actually still be able to enter them, entering the preliminaries with Sakura and Sasuke, who had so many questions, yet so little time to ask anything. I see no reason why this Naruto loses to Kiba in any form. Actually, Naruto breezes by almost every single Chunin exam matchup, except for, of course, Neji, who would give him a run for his money, but he would still beat Neji, as there's no reason why this Naruto, if he's much stronger than his canon counterpart, doesn't beat Neji. And although you can say that was mostly based on wits, with the whole Shadow Clone thing, and, well, eventually getting the uppercut on Neji, I still believe that this Naruto would easily be capable of handling a Neji-level threat and dispatching of Neji, regardless of the fact that Neji has the Byakugan and could shut down Naruto's Tenketsu. I believe that Sasuke versus Gaara ends much sooner and is actually called with Sasuke being the winner, which Kankuro and Tamaru would realize infuriated Gaara because he believed that Sasuke didn't win fairly. As, well, Sasuke didn't necessarily win fairly. You see, Gaara wasn't knocked out, he didn't surrender, and nor did his hand raise. But they still called it a win for Sasuke, just because his Chidori had hit Gaara and visibly spilled blood. So, for quote-unquote the safety of Gaara, the match was ended. This infuriated Gaara, and eventually Kabuto would set the Genjutsu that Sakura would break, and other Leaf Shinobi would break as well to release themselves from the Genjutsu. This Naruto also knows how to release himself from Genjutsu, and so he would. Although Naruto is much less prone to Genjutsu due to the fact that the Nine Tails in this timeline is much more willing to work with Naruto and even break him out of little things like Genjutsu that he happens to get himself into. As well, Naruto's body is kind of important to Kurama because if it happens to be killed in battle, then Kurama would cease to exist as well, and his chakra would have to form together over a very long amount of time. Years and years, and possibly even decades and decades. Now, with that being said, I see no reason why this Naruto doesn't talk no Jutsu Gaara into becoming the Gaara that we know and love. Although this Gaara is sinister, although Naruto has little respect for people that would disrespect his friends, even seeing Sakura and, well, Sasuke being injured by Gaara visibly and, well, in danger for their lives, I see no reason why this Naruto, after defeating a, full Shikaku, wouldn't talk no Jutsu Gaara, give him the same speech. And so, we would begin the scene with a defeated Gaara, and Naruto standing over him. There was a rock that Naruto would sit on. He was now about a meter away from Gaara as he would speak, sitting on the rock. In the Hidden Leaf Village, we have one Jinchuriki. In the Hidden Sand Village, you are the only Jinchuriki as well. What? Don't waste your breath. I can tell that you're beyond your limit. It will only prove to make you more tired. I know exactly what you've been through, Gaara. I am the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. During my whole entire life, I have been looked at as inferior. I have been looked at as a monster. A demon. Someone who doesn't deserve the right to live. Someone who many have looked down upon. Someone who has publicly been assaulted and embarrassed by villagers. And so I've lived a pretty crappy life. The villagers still don't love me, even though they know what I've done for the village. As a child, I helped Kakashi Hatake, the copy ninja, with many missions, but obviously I wasn't given my credit for that. Oh, and although people did spread many legends about the ninja Naruto Uzumaki, who appeared and saved Team 7 from Zabuza and Haku, and even managed to, make the two ninja join Konoha through his sheer strength. With such rumors flying around, you'd think that they'd adore me. But they don't. Every single day, I like to get ramen. So, when I have the time, I go to Old Man Tucci's and I get some Ichiraku's ramen. Almost always on my way there, the villagers look at me with such hatred that you'd think I'm a monster, capable of snapping and just destroying the village in an instant. It's rather sad. Jinchuriki don't deserve to be so feared. And although I understand where the villagers are coming from, if only they knew the pain that they put us through. Because how I felt for the longest is that I'm the Jinchuriki. I'm the reason why the leaf stands at the forefront of the ninja world, alongside the cloud. And although we are a force to be reckoned with or without me, I am the reason why there is a balance of power between the highest of villages. And yet I am not acknowledged, and I never have been. But I met Kakashi, and I met Saka and Sasuke, and I met Haku and Zabuza. And even Tucci, the old man ramen guy. So you see, we're two sides of the same coin. Just my side's a bit cleaner. But why? Why is your side cleaner than mine, Naruto? Because I didn't do everything on my own. I have my friends. I have people I love and adore and care for. Just the other day, I had been afflicted with a curse seal. Something that attacked my chakra and controlled my body, made me do unspeakable things to my loved ones. I hurt someone who I love, someone who I think I'm, and it would click with Naruto. He didn't just love and care for Haku, he was in love with Haku. Someone who I'm in love with. The woman that I would do anything for. I hurt her. I almost killed her. But guess who was still there in the end for me? Her. Haku. She was still fighting by my side. Fighting for me. Even when her own life was at stake. The highest of odds, the highest of stakes, it didn't matter. You have a brother, you have a sister. Those two have been with you your whole life. I don't doubt it. So, apologize to them. Because you've been a horrible brother. And appreciate that they're in your life. Goodbye, Gar. Naruto would turn his back, beginning to walk away. No, wait. Wait! What's the matter? You wish to fight more, do you? No, the opposite. I wish to thank you, Naruto. Because if not for this, I wouldn't have realized the power of true bonds. True bonds. So thank you. Don't sweat it, Gaara. But when I'm Hokage, and you're the Kazekage of the Hidden Sand, who said I'm going to be Kazekage? Don't you interrupt me, Gaara. Once that happens, though, I would like a formal apology for all of this nonsense and trouble you've caused here in the Leaf Village. Oh, and I might just cash in a few favors. Oh, If I need some saving because I'm getting my butt handed to me, I might just call on the 𝘾𝙍𝙄𝙈, and I hope you just would appear. Anyway, goodbye, guy. Goodbye, Naruto. Naruto reappearing. Where did he reappear? He reappeared at a training ground where he knew Haku would be, training her ice release. It had seemed that she was actually practicing her ice mirrors technique. And so he would enter it. Haku would quickly, stop playing around inside of the mirrors. Not to sound weird, but she was just circling around in the mirrors, trying to increase her speed and just, overall practicing and trying to, evolve her jutsu. And she would instead appear inside of the ice mirrors as a physical form, taking off her mask and putting it to the floor. I'm glad to see that you've made a full recovery, Naruto. It's amazing. Thank you. So, why are you here? Is something wrong? No, I had to tell you this. I love you, Haku. You see, when we were back in the Land of Waves, we were enemies. And I guess now we're friends or whatever, but I love you. And I think I have more love for you than I've had for anyone. Kakashi raised me, so obviously I have lots and lots of love for him. But I've never felt this way for anyone. I don't think I just love you. I think I'm in love with you. Infatuated with everything about you. You're smart, you're funny, you're nice, you're kind to me, and most of all, you were willing to risk your life for me. Back in the forest of death, you were willing to risk your life, not just for mine, but just for my single left arm. Do you know how much that means to me, Haku? Haku said nothing, shedding a tear and kissing Naruto on his cheek. She would then disappear. Boom, bang, bop, time skip. No, Orochimaru is never going to land his curse mark on Sasuke, which means that Sasuke would realize that Naruto, even though Naruto is much stronger than him, got stronger through the power of hard work, and he would realize the value of that, beginning training with Kakashi, whilst Jiraiya and Naruto set out to find Lady Tsunade, later retrieving her and bringing her back to the Leaf Village in a similar fashion in the way that he did in the canon. Tsunade is crowned named the 5th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, as Naruto would begin his training with Jiraiya, leaving the village and saying goodbye to Haku for 4 years. He would return to the village to see a Sasuke who was now a Jonin, a Sasuke who now had the 3 Tomoe Sharingan completely mastered, as he would be being trained by Kakashi day in and day out. He would also come to meet a Sakura, who's not devoted to catch up to Naruto and Sasuke, but rather a Sakura who wants to get stronger to protect ninja, to protect her village, and possibly even aid her ninja village in a future war effort. Anything that she can do to help her village, to help Konoha, to protect her family, to protect her loved ones. Her character has depth. She's not just trying to get stronger so that she can catch up to Naruto and Sasuke. She's trying to get stronger for herself. And so, what has Haku done? Haku has become an Anbu captain and has resigned about a year before Naruto arrived back in the Leaf Village. And she also led a wonderful campaign as a Jonin captain for about a year before all of her genin graduated into Chunin, and she later stopped taking on the job, as it was quite stressful for her, as she is still quite young and only 16 years old. With that being said, my apologies, Haku is not 16, Haku is currently 18, as there's actually a 2-year difference between Haku and Naruto. Well, a 1-ish difference, but like there is some time in between that. So whilst Naruto is 16, Haku has just freshly turned 18. Now, with that being said, that is a 2-year difference. You might see that as a lot, but it really isn't at times. Obviously, stay safe out there, kids. Anyways, with that being said, Naruto had gotten leagues stronger. He had mastered his ice release and created many jutsu similar to the ones that Haku had created whilst Naruto was out of the village. And he had mastered the Nine Tails chakra, at least in the Kurama chakra mode 1. Not 2, but 1. Now, how do you do this? Well, by developing his bond with Kurama to not just be a bond where, well, Kurama protects Naruto because Naruto's his Jinchuriki, but actually developing a friendship with him through constantly talking to him, through constantly sharing moments and speaking with Kurama in his free time. It gets kind of lonely being in that seal for years and years and not talking to anybody, and Kurama appreciated it. Naruto was his first Jinchuriki that didn't just see themselves as a jail for Kurama. And if Kurama wanted to let his chakra out, Naruto would even let him. Even if it was unconventional for him to use Nine Tails chakra, if Kurama wanted to feel what it was like to be out in the real world, and even if it was just his chakra being there, Naruto would let him. And that was something that, well, Kurama didn't take for granted. Now, with that being said, we have another jump. After Naruto and Haku would finally reunite, we would now switch / skip to Gaara being saved actually in this timeline by a Naruto who is much faster and used the body flicker jutsu to appear in the Sand Village at high speeds. Now, no, the body flicker jutsu is not the Flying Raijin, but Naruto has gotten so much faster that it's even kind of similar to Flying Raijin, just due to how insanely fast this Naruto is now. Using the body flicker jutsu propels his body at immense speeds at such a high level that he's able to reach the sand in just 20 minutes. Regularly. Not when he's motivated. When motivated and combining it even with his Nine Tails chakra, he was able to reach the Sand Village in just 5 minutes. With that being said, he would be able to save Gaara, as I see no reason why Gaara, who is basically almost able to take out Deidara, wouldn't be able to do so with Naruto aiding him, which means that Deidara would run away with Sasori, leaving the Sand Village. Well, or so he thought. Sasori would jump off the bird, telling Deidara that he had other plans to do, and that he needed to do something before leaving the Sand Village. Deidara would grit his teeth, asking Sasori if he should wait for him, but Sasori said no, declining the offer, but thanking Deidara for caring about his own, well, plans and duties. It would be here that Sasori gets absolutely manhandled by Sakura and Chiyo. Well, not manhandled, but beaten. And it's also at this point where the fight goes differently. No, Chiyo is not controlling Sakura with her, well, chakra strings as a puppet, but rather is aiding Sakura in the battle with her puppets, and Sakura is doing most of the work on her own. She is fast enough and strong enough, and was strong enough and fast enough in the canon to not need to be pulled around with Chiyo's strings, and could actually do it on her own, as Chiyo's just aiding from the sidelines, supporting her, as Sakura's mainly doing most of the work, and would eventually defeat Sasori. We now make a huge, and I do mean huge, jump to the war arc. Oh my god, yeah, we skipped so much. That's because Itachi and Sasuke have yet to fight yet. And, well, luckily for the two of them, this Itachi is now dead because they did have a fight. But it came much, much closer to the war arc, which means that Sasuke does have his Mangekyo Sharingan in this timeline, and actually has, well, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which he would get from Itachi. Now, how does he get it? By defeating Itachi. But he doesn't do it alone. He, in this timeline, is okay with having help. Because, again, like Gaara was taught by Naruto, he understands the ability to do things not just on your own, but with your friends. And Itachi would realize that although his brother wasn't as physically strong as he would have hoped he was, he had a power that Itachi had failed to realize was invaluable. The power of friendship. The power of getting stronger by believing in yourself and the ones that you love. And that empowered Sasuke. Not the greed, not the hatred, not the anger. It was fighting for his friends over everything. With that being said, Itachi would still be reanimated in the war, and I see no reason why Naruto would be able to easily take out Madara with just his shadow clone, as well eventually Killer Bee and Naruto would be let out to actually be able to fight in the war. The only, as well, Gaara, Agent Jinchuriki was fighting in the war, since Gaara still has Shukaku in this timeline, and would actually be able to become a perfect Jinchuriki during this war. Another thing that should be mentioned is that, well, Naruto's ice release, and although he can't necessarily just seal away anyone he wants, he can seal away several reanimations by using an ice sealing jutsu similar to what Haku created, but on another level. Now, with that being said, Naruto would almost breeze through the war until his shadow clone encountered Madara. The events of the war arc would go very, very similar to the canon until the final battle against Madara. It would be on their last legs that the shinobi forces would realize that they only had one option. But then Night Guy would appear. Night Guy, the 8th gate guy that we see pummel Madara for a good amount of time actually, would appear and would attack Madara. It would be here that Naruto wouldn't let Night Guy fight alone, and nor would Minato, of course. They would fight him together. And they would win. And that means that there is no Kaguya, because Zetsu is not going to stab Madara through his back, because Naruto would see that coming and would defeat Zetsu. Naruto saw it as disrespectful for someone who was so hard to defeat being killed from a hit to the back. That was a coward's death, and a coward's shot in the first place. Naruto believed that although Madara had killed so many, that he deserved a faithful death. He deserved to be honored as a god of shinobi, like his counterpart, Hashirama Senju. And so, instead, Madara would fall to the ground of chakra exhaustion. His body wasn't enough to handle the 10 tails as he would die. And as the 10 tails then began to rampage on its own, Naruto and Sasuke would be granted the abilities of the Sage of Six Paths. And instead of Naruto receiving the ability to heal Night Guy, to heal Kakashi's eye, blah 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 blah, instead it would be Sakura. Sakura would be recognized by Hagoromo as somebody who embodied what Hagoromo was fighting for. Someone who embodied Ninshu. And, well, combined the ideologies of having Nindo and Ninshu together to create something that was whole. The perfect ninja in a way. And so, knowing of Sakura's immense healing abilities and her effort in the war, he would give her the ability to heal on such a level so potent. And so she would be the one to heal Night Guy. And upon traveling into Kaguya's dimension, as I believe that Kaguya would still be revived in a different way through Madara's body quite literally collapsing and her finding a way to get through. As they sealed Madara, Sakura would be the one helping Kakashi, healing his eyes, fighting Kaguya as not weaker than Sasuke or Naruto, but on equal footing. Now, with that being said, after the war arc, her healing abilities would quickly disappear, similarly to the fact that the truth-seeking orbs disappeared from Sasuke and Naruto. Odd. Now, with that being said, I still see no reason why the final Valley battle can't still happen, and Sakura would actually be able to heal Naruto's arms, and Sasuke's arm, of course, so they wouldn't need new arms, and Naruto wouldn't need a Hashirama arm. Now we enter Boruto. Some time would pass with Tsunade later stepping down for after the war, stepping down for Kakashi to become the 6th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Well, the true 6th Hokage, not Danzo. As soon after, well, I see another thing happening. After a few years of basically just teaching Naruto on the ways of being Hokage, someone who didn't even want to be Hokage and would rather just read his weird books, if that's what you want to call them, in peace, would give the job of being Hokage to the next generation, to Naruto Uzumaki, who at this point had been married to Haku Yuki and had a 1-year-old child named Haruto. A boy who, at the age of just 1 year old, had displayed incredible power, being able to freeze things without even needing any jutsu, hand seals, or anything of the sort. A true talent and prodigy. And it was here that the future of the Leaf Village was brighter than ever. Naruto had secured peace between the other great nations, with his power alone being enough to frighten them in any battle, in any war. And, well, obviously uniting for the 4th Great Ninja War created a everlasting bond between the other villages, as every year the Chunin exams would be held in each of the great nations, rotating each year. With that being said, a few more years would pass and Naruto would have another child. This child, he would name Hara. Hara was younger than Haruto by about 4 years, but she displayed promise too, and some more time would pass and they would grow. Naruto would begin to train his children and they would become true, menacingly powerful ninja. But of course, Boruto isn't done, so I can't speculate off of that. So I must end the what if here. And although it may seem like I skipped huge parts of this what if, it was for the sake of the timeline. I couldn't go over some of these things as they would be too complicated to change, inserting Naruto and his ice release and Haku into the story, but I hope you all enjoyed nevertheless. I worked really hard and diligently, and actually I have not slept just to create this video. It is currently 7:07 a.m. and I have pulled an all-nighter just to get this video done, because obviously I hold myself to that standard, so that's also on me. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, share the video to a friend who likes this or just anime content in general. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings about the video. Share the video to a friend who likes this, like I just mentioned. Subscribe. Comment down below some what if suggestions. Support the channel in any way you'd like. A super thanks, well, whatever. And if you're not comfortable doing that, then a like would also be appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. I love you all, and this has been Rami X. Rami X out.